Why should you pay attention to what's going on in Canada? How is this possibly going to affect you? This is the Great Reset in action. It is just being done through emergency powers. This is truly why they surrounded the Capitol with razor wire for a year. This is why they are still investigating the January 6th thing. This is why they are calling parents terrorists, and the Justice Department is classifying them as terrorists. I want you to know, in an emergency, and that's what it will be, and those emergencies in America are most likely going to be a financial emergency. What I'm about to tell you, and what I have been telling you, is going to classify me as someone who is harming the institutions of the United States, harming the financial sector of the United States. So I am telling you this knowing what the consequences probably will be, which will be me not being able to communicate to you. I'm hoping that's as bad as it gets. So please listen and truly consider what I'm about to say to you. Let me give you the story from CBC, that's Canadian Broadcasting Company. Using powers granted under the Emergencies Act, the federal government, Canadian, has directed banks and other financial institutions to stop doing business with people associated with the anti-vaccine mandate convoy occupying the nation's capital. Now, I want you to know, the bridge, those are open. The borders are open. This is only now about a group of people who are occupying the Capitol, like Occupy Wall Street. All right? Except Occupy Wall Street were doing all kinds of things, and the celebrities were coming in, and the government officials were all for them. Meanwhile, they're smearing excrement all over the buildings and police cars, et cetera, et cetera. That wasn't a problem. And I don't think it's a problem for anyone to protest like that as long as you're peaceful. These guys are blocking the streets only around the Capitol, and they're peaceful. The only violence has come from an Antifa member trying to ram a bunch of people in a crowd with their car. So now the banks are being told you cannot do business with people associated with this convoy. According to the regulations that have been published, financial institutions are now required to monitor and halt all transactions that funnel money to demonstrators. So think of this. You're not part of it, but you maybe are a family member or you're a friend, and the people who are in the trucks no longer can use their credit cards, can no longer use money, they have no ability to buy food for their children unless they came with a bucket full of cash. Everything has been frozen. So if you're a friend and they call you and they say, hey, can you help me out? Everything I have is frozen. Yeah, I'll be down there. I'll give you some cash, or I'll bring you some food, or whatever. You then are a person associated with the anti-vaccine mandate convoy. So now your bank account will be frozen. According to the regulations, this is designed to cut off funding to a well-financed protest. Do we talk about BLM? To a well-financed protest that has taken over large swaths of Ottawa's downtown core. The government's new directive, called Emergency Economic Measures Order, goes beyond asking banks to simply stop transferring funds to protest organizers. The government now wants banks to stop doing business with these people altogether. Please buy a copy of the Great Reset. Please get a paper copy of the Great Reset. Time is of the essence. The government now says entities like credit unions, co-ops, loan companies, trusts, and cryptocurrency platforms must stop providing any financial or related services to people associated with the protests. Now, what does that mean? You have a frozen bank account, stranded money, and canceled credit cards. The government is also ordering insurance companies to suspend policies on vehicles that are part of an unlawful public assembly. So if your license plate is seen this weekend in Ottawa, you will have your insurance company cancel your insurance on your car. If this isn't Big Brother, I don't know what is. Regulations define a designated person who can be cut off from financial services as someone who is directly or indirectly participating in a public assembly that may reasonably be expected to lead to a breach of the peace, or a person engaging in serious interference with trade or critical infrastructure. Well, the critical infrastructure is the capital. Banks are also now required to disclose without delay the existence of property in their possession or control. Any information about a transaction or a proposed transaction related to a designated person to both the RCMP and the Canadian Service Intelligence, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. So if a bank is approached by a designated person and they want to do any kind of business with the bank must report it immediately. The public safety minister said those authorities are now in force and are being used, and it's incredibly important that we follow the money. Now, how far does this go? Well, a designated person includes people who provide property to facilitate or participate in any assembly. In other words, anyone doing anything with these people risk your financial future being abolished. By the way, financial institutions, this is according to the government, for the most part, financial institutions can decide who they do business with. And they may decide to cease offering all financial services permanently. A lawyer for Blumberg Siegel LLP, who specializes in nonprofit and charity law, in an interview said that while the Emergency Act gives banks time-limited powers, these institutions may just decide to shut down the person's account forever, because there will be huge risks for banks servicing these companies in the future. Under the regulation, the banks have a duty to determine who among their customers is considered a designated person. So the bank has to decide, they have to look at everybody, and they decide who may be a designated person, who should be denied financial services. And it's up to the banks to determine on a continuing basis whether they are in possession or control of property that is owned, held, or controlled by or on behalf of a designated person. So if I have property and I transfer it to my family, it's controlled by others, but I'm there, I lose my property. The government senior official said information will flow back and forth between the Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Center of Canada, the government's financial intelligence unit. Police will gather the names and license plate numbers of people participating in the protest or an unlawful assembly and share that information with these people. If you don't think that this is coming here, why do you listen to this show? Sincerely. It's a lot of work to keep up with all of this stuff. It's a lot of stress. I know I stress you out every day. I know that. I know people that say, I can't listen to you every day. I know that. But this is my job. This is my calling. I have to be on top of the wall and warn you on what is coming. If I don't, I believe there are eternal consequences to me. I have to warn you. It is not fun, and I know how hard it is for you. So if you don't think this stuff is coming, why are you here? You are here for a reason. 5 major Canadian banks yesterday have mysteriously gone offline in some sort of an outage. All right, this is where things get dicey. Because if you listen to me, you know that for years I have been warning about this kind of stuff, and I've been warning about the financial institutions. I have shown you what the Fed has done. Probably tomorrow I'm going to show you the latest from the Treasury, and it is all about control. These banks are part of the Great Reset. Whether they think that's a good thing or they have, nefarious purposes, whatever, it doesn't matter. It is replacing the free market system. That's the goal. And they are in league, either by choice or by pressure. The banks in Canada are doing this because there will be severe repercussions for them if they don't. So what are they going to do? Let me first say, the worst thing that you can do is act through panic or fear. You have to be smart and not panicked and reasoned and look at all sides. The banks in Canada yesterday mysteriously went down. 5 major Canadian banks went offline, which stopped people from using e-transfers, any online banking or mobile banking services. The Royal Bank of Canada, the Bank of Montreal, Scotia Bank, TD Bank Canada, the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce. The number of people experiencing difficulty accessing their online banking peaked between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. It's still occurring. We are experiencing technical issues with our online and mobile banking, as well as our phone systems. Our experts are investigating and working to get this fixed as quickly as possible. So 5 banks were having the same kinds of problems. Speculation is that there is a run on the banks in Canada. I wouldn't think that that's far-fetched when you see what the banks are doing to people, what they're doing to their money. And you don't even have to be there. You just have to somehow or another have been supportive of them. That's why people are pulling their money out of the banks, and that's why the bank is going offline. I have told you to please get your money out of these big banks. Put it in a local bank or a credit union. That is not a guarantee, but it is better than some of these banks. I don't know who will stand, but you really want to get it out of these big banks for a myriad of reasons. I want you to know what those reasons are. And I have them in my book, The Great Reset, and I've said them over and over here. You have to own this information. You cannot look for somebody to give you directions on what to do. You have to own what you know. You have to find the reasons yourself. Look up the original sources. This is, unfortunately, what I believe is coming here. And people in Canada are going to the banks and they're surprised that they can't get their money out. Well, they can't get their money out because the banks no longer hold that money. That money is held by the Treasury Department. If you go to your bank, I can guarantee, and you say, I want to close my account. Digital transfers, perhaps, but I want to close my account. I want my money. You can't, because it'll be held by the central bank, or in America, the Federal Reserve. That is freaking people out. There's no reason to freak out unless you need the money today. There's no reason to freak out about that. That's the way the system is now designed. And we've told you that for a while. They are now preventing any transactions with Bitcoin. Now, this is not a problem with Bitcoin. This is a problem with the off-ramps. So you buy Bitcoin and you can sell Bitcoin, but you need an off-ramp. You need a Coinbase to be able to transfer that and turn it into dollars. Well, Canada is now saying, we're not turning them into dollars. You can't. And any company that changes Bitcoin of these people into dollars is in trouble. This is going to accelerate the Fed coin. I'll give you that news tomorrow, but this will accelerate the complete transparency of everything everybody does by getting rid of the dollar and going to a digital dollar. This is going to happen faster than you think. Now, I'm always wrong on timing, but look how fast it's come for Canadians. You already had 9,000 people, tenured teachers, lose their jobs because they wouldn't get a vaccine. That was yesterday. How many people have lost their job because of the vaccine mandate? How many doctors, especially now in California, are getting new regulations and may lose their license because they disagree with the CDC?